In 2018, Kroger announced its most massive, important, billion-dollar bet in years. Robots.
Welcome to the hive. We can process that order 6 times faster.
We can have stock into the warehouse and out again into a delivery van in just 5 hours.
Kroger announced this huge 300,000 square feet distribution centers all the way back in 2018, before the pandemic hit. And it was huge for them.
We've got Kroger, the supermarket chain, beating earnings expectations.
They've given Kroger a higher margin channel to sell things directly to the customer.
This was the dream, company success, corporate vision, future tech story for the company, and somehow it became the biggest mistake they've made in 150 years, a $2.6 billion write-off. Now, Kroger made one fatal mistake in this implementation. It's a mistake that was maybe too obvious to see, a mistake that slipped past thousands of people and billions of dollars spent until it was too late. So I sat down to dig through Kroger's filings and financial reports to understand what went wrong and how this company, and honestly, all e-commerce companies, can learn from their mistake. Now, this is one of 20 distribution centers that Kroger announced and opened all over the US. By the way, if Kroger doesn't ring a bell, maybe one of these brands will. Kroger operates with a bunch of different names across the US, so you've probably shopped there even if you don't know. This one specifically is 300,000 square feet. It opened in 2023, and, well, you can't go in anymore because it's literally closing down as I speak. But here's how it looked inside. Now, Kroger is trying to build this national railroad of groceries. It started with these giant fulfillment centers, and they were assisted by spokes or satellite sites that helped extend the overall range and help with the last mile delivery. Kind of like an airline has a central hub at a major airport and other secondary hubs at smaller airports. Now, let's rewind this video for a sec. There, stop. See that logo on the robot? What's that? What is an Ocado? What's an Ocado?
Ocado is one of the biggest food delivery services in the UK, and you just go on it, you select what you want, then you go to pay. So once you are on the final page, then you get like a breakdown of like 20, 30 time slots.
Are those windows like same day or next day or like a week away? How does that work?
I don't know if you've got same day. I know you can schedule it for later on in the week for the day that works best because you work from home or you're going to be home.
Is that like the go-to thing? Do people use any other services? Are there any other services like that?
There's some others, but they've been closing down over the years. Like nobody has survived as long as Ocado. And I think it's because it's got a really big selection of products. It's the only one sourcing M&S, which is a really good quality supermarket. And it's got good price, like the price you would get at the supermarket, and it's got deals.
Now, Ocado started in the year 2000 with the first fulfillment center warehouse in Hatfield. And today they operate 7 of these across England. Now, Ocado's focus was on the tech and on the platform. They never wanted to be a grocer. For example, when they started operating, it was Waitrose, that's kind of like the UK's Whole Foods. It was Waitrose that provided many of their groceries. Now, Ocado just did the shipping and the e-commerce part. Now, that first warehouse they built only had rudimentary automation. It was more like a factory than a robo center, but by 2017, they had engineered this huge system called the Hive. And along with their philosophy of not being the grocer, they productized these bots into a fulfillment center that they could sell to other grocers, like Groupe Casino in France, and of course, Kroger in 2018. Now, Kroger's system is, it's the same one that Ocado uses in the UK. And Ocado does great in the UK, so why did Kroger fail so quickly in the US? Now, at this point in my research, I was thinking, maybe being one of the first to hop on the robo-warehouse trend was a disadvantage. Maybe their infrastructure in the US just wasn't ready. Well, no matter what industry you're in, you know that staying on top of the right trends makes all the difference. It's not always the case that we've got the perfect document to help with that, but right now, we do. Our team put in the work to create this super simple trend analysis report. It lays out the 5 key retail trends the big players are betting on, and it turns it into this one-page cheat sheet that's incredibly easy to read and to use. I just proofread this myself, and it's awesome because it doesn't just tell you what's happening, it walks you through 7 tips on how to implement these trends using case studies and actionable items that you can apply today. I've personally been looking at trend number 3, and honestly, if you're in retail or e-commerce and you don't have this playbook, you could be making the same $2.6 billion gamble that Kroger did. without the bank account. Now, we're giving this away for free because we want you to have the same data the big players have. It takes about 20 seconds to grab it. You can click the link in the description or scan this QR code here on the screen. Grab it now, and let's get back to Kroger. Now, let's look at how this actually works straight from Ocado's supplier manual. There's a clue here. Let's see if you can catch it. Suppliers, those are your food companies, right? Your grocery distributors. They all deliver into their central inventory, one of Ocado's CFCs, central fulfillment centers, just like they would deliver to a supermarket. Now, by the time a supplier delivers, around 80% of the inventory is already sold in orders that customers have already set on their website. This is gonna be really important in a sec. Now, the Hive uses this grid of stacked bins where groceries are stored, they're pre-sorted, and they're packaged. According to The Verge, up to 40% of orders are packaged by robots, the rest are finished up by humans, and humans still do all of the delivery work. And then a bunch of orders are bundled together and they're shipped to one of these spoke sites that we mentioned earlier, which work as kind of a hub for last mile deliveries. Now, here are Ocado's 7 fulfillment centers in England. Notice that all of them are next to a major population center, usually within a 20-mile radius. Now, Kroger's plan was much more ambitious than this. It had to be, because the geography of the US is so different. 40-mile circles just don't cut it in the US. So instead, they were looking for each fulfillment center to serve this 90-mile radius, which was extendable to up to 200 miles using spoke sites. Now, this one behind me was supposed to serve the Baltimore, the DC area, extending all the way up to Delaware, aided by this Alexandria, Virginia location. And their Monroe, Ohio center could target Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Columbus, and everywhere in between, even Louisville, Kentucky, thanks to 4 spoke centers that were located across the Midwest, which is great, right? Now, you can start to see some cracks in the plan in their financial reports. This is their 2022 annual report, 4 years after the announcement. It said that digital sales grew by 4% and delivery by 25% because of this delivery network expansion, the one that they imported from Ocado. But check out this other note. The future success of the digital business will depend on the efficiency and cost effectiveness of fulfilling orders across all modalities, whether in store or pickup locations or through our custom fulfillment centers with Ocado. Translation to this, something wasn't working in the costs of these fulfillment centers. Funny, they also listed this as a risk factor in their 2021 filing, kind of like a copy-paste. Still, this is 2022, so at this point, they're still going at full speed on this deployment. Profit comes with scale, right? I'm sure someone said that. Now check this other line. Lease obligations increased by about $466 million, primarily related to our 4 additional Kroger delivery customer fulfillment centers opening during 2022. Kroger bet everything on this because it needed to.
What retailers are finding today is that they have to be able to offer not just the in-store experience. Customers are increasingly interested in having groceries delivered at home. And if you don't have the ability to play in all 3 areas, then it really limits your opportunity for growth in the future.
Now, Kroger had to play catch up with Instacart, DoorDash, and Amazon. All 3 of these companies were Silicon Valley companies. They were built by tech founders. They were funded by tech VCs. They were tech companies first and grocers later. And Kroger was kind of the other way around. And in their effort to become a tech startup, they made 3 critical mistakes.
Walmart's managed to grow organically its delivery systems, but is Kroger just a little bit late to the party?
Okay, so back to those mistakes. You may have already figured out the first one. Volume versus cost. At something like $55 million for each of these fulfillment centers, that's what the first facility cost anyway. This was a massive endeavor, but how much volume could one of these service? Now let's take the Ocado fulfillment center in Erith near London. In a radius of 20 miles, they can cover the entire city and then some, with an estimated 10 million plus people within reach. Compare that to Monroe, Ohio, the fulfillment center that Kroger built there are only about 1.1 million people within a 20-mile radius. To hit 10 plus million people, this fulfillment center would need to service almost the entire state of Ohio, 200 miles across. Now that is why Kroger's circles were much bigger and why it was critical for them to use these spoke sites to extend the range. The US is too big and the distances are too long. Now to look at it differently, a 200-mile CFC would cover almost the entire country of England. America is much bigger and much less dense, and somehow, these companies seriously underestimated that difference. Now second, remember what Claudia said about the Ocado orders? Are those windows like same day or next day or like a week away? How does that work?
I Don't know if you've got same day.
Now, Americans are not so much into scheduling their deliveries. Amazon, Instacart, DoorDash, they've all made this side of the world pretty used to, 30-minute deliveries, not schedule for next day deliveries. These preferences are borne out by a 2021 Nielsen IQ survey that definitely found that Americans are willing to pay a premium for speed. But you just can't deliver in 30 minutes from a warehouse that's 90 miles away. That trade-off of speed versus price, the discount for delayed delivery, has worked great in the UK. It just didn't stick the landing in the US. And last but not least, ignoring existing infrastructure. Ocado's robo warehouses are their whole thing. Like, they have to do that because they don't have stores at all. But with 2,700 supermarkets across 35 states, Kroger chose to completely ignore their own existing infrastructure. Instead of building around their supermarkets or using them as warehouses or pickup locations, they just figured out that they'd copy and paste this Ocado model into the US and try to make it work with 200-mile radiuses. That is your $2.6 billion mistake. $350 million of which, by the way, are just a payout to Ocado for canceling the contract. That still didn't stop Ocado's stock from crashing like 17% after this announcement. But if they decided to pay $350 million to Ocado for canceling this, that's a hint that their forecast for losses was way, way worse. And using existing stores is kind of what they're doing now, by the way. Like, they've let DoorDash, Instacart, and Uber Eats win, these companies that they tried to outsmart, and they're also expanding relationships with them for, you guessed it, delivering from their own stores in this hybrid model that can serve orders more quickly. Just like we're seeing with AI, these robotics implementations are great press, they're great for investors, but sometimes the wheel doesn't need to be reinvented. A good example of that is gas stations, which took the oldest trick in the book, the most basic human need, and turned it into a cornerstone of their business. I road tripped the Midwest last month to understand the secret that made suburban America so obsessed with these gas station brands. You should check that video out. And don't forget to download our report on the retail trends. Catch you on the next one.